Alright, I hope you were able to come up with something that looks like this for your impaired waterways layer. Similar process to for the outstanding waterways layer. Similar process to what we did for the impaired waterways layer. Alright, and so you have something like that. But now we want to go ahead and work with this wells information, and we want to be able to portray based on what we're seeing here in terms of nitrate, and these are the percentage of private wells exceeding the nitrate standard by township across the state of Wisconsin. And again, there's lots of different ways we could go about doing this, but what we're going to go ahead and do, the simple way, is that let's go ahead and leverage our magic wand tool again, and let's use the legend, right? We want to change these from these green and yellow and red to just a nice blue background color. We don't want it to overpower the drawing. And so if I go ahead and click, again with the contiguous turned off, if I go ahead and click on that, and then I create a new layer, and I can grab a light blue color. Let's go really light blue and drop that color in. Then I can go back to my wells layer, go click on the next one in line, and then I can come back into that layer, select a slightly darker blue. One of the things you may want to watch for is that Paint Bucket has a contiguous button too, and so we want to go ahead and make sure that we're filling up all of that space. And so same thing as we go up to there. I'm just going to work back and forth across these layers, and finally I'm going to move into the darkest of those and come in and drop in that final color. And now I can go ahead and turn off the other layer, and I can drag that kind of back behind everything else, and you'll see that, change up how dark that is, right? We can make some adjustments here and there. You can make something that works out for you. You can play with the colors however you want. One of the challenges is that base hydrology layer, right? It's still, the hydrology layer that we created. You see it creates a lot of confusion kind of with what's going on there. There's one thing that we can do. You can play with all these different settings, is that, you come in and we could try out some, actually I think what I was looking for was a color dodge, right? You can see that maybe you can make it kind of pop out, or maybe it's best to just turn it off, which is what I ended up deciding when I created the original on this. And so, alright, so now I've got a layer. Interestingly, the other thing that I have is that I've got my the beginnings of my legend hanging out in that layer as well. And so if I wanted to move that, I can use the marquee tool, go over that layer, and I can drag it, right? And away we go. Alright, so what I want you to do for this assignment is I want you to go ahead and continue to play with this, and I want you to get a drawing that you're happy with. And create a statewide map that shows outstanding waterways, impaired waterways, and well contamination. Now, it doesn't have to look exactly like the original. Maybe you only want to highlight the really highly contaminated, or the townships that have a really high percentage of the private wells that are contaminated. That's completely okay. And then the last thing I want to do is that, if you look back to the original, you see that the legend becomes a really important part of this as well. You don't have to do this exact legend, but again, you need to be able to label this out. And so you have to create a legend to help people understand what you've put into the rest of your map. So these maps that are kind of turned on their side is certainly one way that you could go about doing this. And so I just wanted to give you a couple of quick tips should you want to go ahead and do something like that. One of the things that you can do is, like, if I wanted to create a legend that showed just my outstanding waterways and that state layer, quickest thing to do is actually, if I use the control key rather than the shift key, I can actually create a duplicate layer. And what that does is I've now created a copy of both of these, and I can again right click or go through the menu, and I can go ahead and merge those layers together. So now if I use the move tool, you can see I can drag around this layer. Oops, what happened there? Oh, I merged it with the wrong layer. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. So back up just a couple of steps here. Let's see. So if I want that, and I want the context, not the labels. Duplicate those. Now I go ahead and merge those layers. You can see now I can drag those around. And then that free transform tool becomes the really interesting part of this, is that it hides out under here. It's also Control T as a shortcut. I can create a small version of my map. And then if I want to start playing with things like, you know, how to make it look like it's in perspective, it's literally that this is where you come in and you start, you know, moving some stuff around. And I'll let you play around with it. I don't expect you all to have something like that. It does involve the control key as an anchor on some of these corners to make it look exactly right. But it's certainly kind of an interesting way to provide multiple layers, and you can see that when if you were to take them and start stacking them one on top of the other, right? It's an interesting way to kind of display your data. But with that in mind, and the fact that this video has gotten long, I'm going to challenge you to wrap this up. Again, you need to display all of the key information you want to present related to water on your map, and you need to provide me with a legend.